Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jacob, and this is my channel Supercoach Challenges. Today, we're looking at the round two review for the 400k team. So, as you can see, we went up a bit in the rank, 5,910 spots to be exact. So, still a long way to get to the goal of 50k, but I mean, going up 5,900 is better than nothing. Obviously, the score was only 1,871, which was quite a low score. Only uh, only top 70%, with a lot of teams going over 2,000 and even closer into the 2,300, 2,400 scores. This is obviously a very below average score, but as I said, it's good to see us at least moving up in score rather than down. If we'd sat at 1,600 again, it might have been a bit sad, but um, I think overall there was a bit of a better mix of scoring from our mid ranges than there was before. I think looking at this challenge, I think I know how I'd probably maybe structure the team a little bit differently next year if we are to do it again. Hopefully, I will. But at the moment, we're obviously at round three, the last round before we can finally trade in our first premium. And for now, we're kind of going to look at a few things to set up. We're obviously going to do the 3-2-1 for this round and figure out where to next. I've got a few ideas, but yeah, we'll have to see how we go and figure out what's going to be the best choice for trades. So let's get into the team. All right, so starting the defense. So this was probably an area that was a bit of an issue, but a little bit better than what it was this week, last week, because we had Wiedering go for 120. Now, Wiedering, to his credit, looked like he was actually going to go for a big score. I think he was on about 50 at the half, and I was thinking, oh, he might go for 100 again. That would be like great because I thought Geelong was going to be a hard matchup for him. Just playing that full back role for Carlton. I thought that, yeah, maybe he wasn't going to be as free as he would like to be, but I think Carlton just got on top of Geelong a bit in that second half, which made it a little bit harder for him to get his hands on the ball. Nevertheless, he's averaging 90 over the period, and that's what we're kind of looking for from our players. So you can't really be angry with him. Yeah, looking at a few other players, I think there would be some others I may have chosen ahead of him. And as we'll discuss, probably a different way I'll structure the team next year when we do the same challenge. But for now, it's a learning game, and I'm really liking how the team's looking at the moment. Well, I'm liking how it's working. Obviously, the scores aren't that competitive, but it's just interesting. One of the, I guess, things I kind of got a bit frustrated with my own team is they just seem so hard to catch up now. Because all the teams are so much the same, and you're having to pick the players that everyone's got just to be able to, not miss those scores. I mean, you got to bet against them, and at least with this team, I feel like there's less pressure, and it's just a bit of fun. See what we can do, see where we can build to by the end. So rather than starting up and maybe falling, we're going to start low and try and build up to those higher scores. So Mitch Hinge, I thought he actually scored a lot better than this suggests. I felt like he was really connecting for the Crows in the back when he played against Richmond. I thought he got a few intercept disposals. I thought he was really good in the back line and rebounding quite a bit, but a lot of his disposals probably do come from that cleaner in the back line where it's kind of a just quick handball, quick kick out, which sometimes can not be as effective. But I thought it was, an 80s all we asked for, and that's what Hingy got to. So can't be too mad with that. Now, Will Day he had the game we probably expected last week. Like, one of the things I've been looking at with players is, all right, so the Supercoach score wasn't great, but is that because they weren't getting any of the ball and their efficiency was great? Or was it because they had a lot of the ball, but their efficiency was bad and other areas were bad, which was affecting the score, and which decreased it? And what I was finding was that actually Will Day was getting a lot of the ball, it just wasn't translating to Supercoach scores. So the 98's nice to see. Hopefully, he keeps going from there and builds into it. Hawthorn had North this week, so for our Hawthorn players, I'm hoping we can get some big scores. North do look quite good, but hopefully for a team that's kind of been getting smashed. Hopefully they can be a bit competitive against uh Kangaroos. Now Ben Long is putting his hand up to maybe be traded this weekend. It's not. Uh, it's mostly because of the way player he is. I'd never really watched much of him in St Kilda. I had seen him get some big scores in the previous years, but I watched this Gold Coast game pretty closely because I was kind of watching Noah Anderson quite a bit. Because I kind of trying to look for a little bit of a pod player in my regular classic team, and Ben Long, he's not getting kickouts, which really hurts his scoring. And when he's getting the ball and running at three, he just seems to be very rushed with his approach, and his kicking accuracy hasn't been great, and it just hasn't really done us very well for his scoring either. So I'm not very happy with that pick, and I'm thinking that's when we can get moved on. Now Hunter Clark is is the next one, and it's a bit interesting his score. So he's kind of in that same realm as Day, where he's getting a lot of the ball, but it's not really translating to scores. Now I think that Clark may have actually just been a bit unlucky in this game. For me, I think that he got a lot of the ball and he was actually quite efficient. I'm not sure really why his score was only 60. I think he had 24 disposals, maybe a bit more. If we look for Hunter Clark, I think he had quite a bit of the ball. I know there's probably an easy way. Actually, we have this side up for so thank you. I actually think he had quite a bit of the ball, and his efficiency was quite good. Here's Hunter Clark here. So he had a 91 in fantasy and 26 disposals. He had about a 50% kick to handball ratio, 7 marks, 3 tackles. Like all of those stats kind of read into a score that should be better than 60, especially in a winning team. Maybe it was the free kicks against that didn't help him. I mean, the contested disposal maybe isn't as high as you'd like. It looks like had quite a few clangers, which may not have helped, 6 clangers, but I believe his efficiency was around 81%. So I just feel like maybe, disposal efficiency 81%. So even with 6 clangers, I'm not really sure how that works with disposal efficiency. I'm assuming this is CG is clangers because I think CL's clearances. It's just a little bit strange, but hopefully this week he can kind of turn that 26 into a bit of maybe a 90, 100. Ruben Jimby, he's been a great player. I think he's leading for tackles, which is great, and I think that he'll be a mainstay in this team for quite a bit until we kind of catch him up and catch him out. Next in the side, so looking at the bench, so Chesser's he's a bit of a waste of space, to be honest, as a Supercoach player. He's just not really getting anywhere near the scores we thought he might get. He's actually quite highly owned in overall population of coaches. I think it's about 50%, 51%, I think I saw today. 52% actually. So he has been traded out of 5.7% teams, but that still leaves him in 47%. And to be honest, I think Chesser will probably play again this week because West Coast did win. And I think that getting rid of players straight away, rookies especially, I know there's probably some other better choices you can get, but I think Chesser probably has better job security than some of the other players out there, and probably one we want to try and keep. Now, Constable is one of the reasons I'm getting rid of Long, because I could have had Constable on the field who's actually in 68% of teams and got a 67, and instead I got a 56 from Ben Long. So one of the main reasons of getting rid of him. And Constable seems to be getting those kickouts that Long isn't getting. Probably a little worse job security, but we can pack that 200k hopefully away and maybe get in a Connor McKenna or something like that along. But that's kind of something we're going to look at when we go to the trades. Now, looking at the midfield, so this is what I actually ran in the end. So if you watched the video before the round started, I actually had decided that I'd put the C on Setterfield and VC Vaughan Francis, but that was not to be. So what happened was Vaughan Francis, he played an absolute stinker. To be honest, I thought he put up a little bit more, but I wasn't actually that hugely confident in the guy. I probably should have gone with Zeeble, but I thought, Zeeble's a bit injury prone. But I went with Horn Francis and yeah, got the 45. And I was like, oh, do I really want to put it on Setterfield? Like, I know Setterfield's good, but like, if you look at Essendon's midfield, there's guys like there's Parrish and Merritt ahead of him. And I just thought, oh, is that going to be any good? I knew, like, I picked him for the captain because he was playing Gold Coast, but I was just like, oh, I really needed a nice 100. And Hopper was coming against the Crows. And I was like, look, Hopper, I mean, the Crows, they don't really man up that well in the midfield. And I thought Hopper could just get away here and he could get a big score. So I'll put the captain on him. And to some extent, I was right. Like, if he didn't get injured in that last quarter, doing an ankle, I mean, he did come back on, but it probably did affect him. And it sounds like from the news that's coming out, he has actually been affected by that. But strangely enough, it's a knee niggle, which is not good news for anyone. Well, a lot of people own Hopper, so he could actually go out the team because I'm not sure anyone wants to really carry that knee. But maybe we can keep him in this team because we do have quite a decent bench. I think there's going to be other players we need to trade out, but we put the C on Hopper. He was going really, really well. He got to 119, and we thought, you know what, 120's locked away. Like last week, we got a 50, so 53 or whatever Hunter got. So locked him away. And then Centerfield when he got 147. So, one of the two mistakes from this week. But we moved forward. So Hunter actually got the form that we thought he should have had last week. He got up to 99, which, we had Hoppers last week. That was an extra 140 points we kind of missed on. With Hopper getting a 120, if we'd been able to get Hunter at 100, we would have got an extra 100 points last week. Probably been up for an extra 10,000 ranks or so, but these things happen. We're having a guess on players that aren't that great for who can be a captain role. So we'll take the 99. Kerno got up to 100. That was great against Geelong. That's a hard matchup. Now, most of that's affected because I'd say Hewitt was out. Now, Hewitt has, I think it's back issues he's dealing with again. He had these back issues last year, so hopefully he can stay out the team a little bit more and Kerno gets a bit more of that mid-time. Carlton did win against Geelong, so maybe they will try and play Kerno a bit more through there, but once Sam Walsh comes back, I'm not sure how much longer that will last. Next was Ash. So Ash obviously got up to the 94 late. He was like on 30, I think, at the half or something like that. Went really big in the last half. Obviously, a lot of his score has come from the fact that Whitfield's out, so that's quite helpful. And I don't know whether he'll be able to keep this up, but a 94 is a nice little score for him to get. Setterfield 147. Kind of skipped over Setterfield a bit because I was a bit annoyed that I captained him, but a really good score. And he just seemed to go up without even touching the ball. Bit of the Bontempelli effect, but really good game. Good win for Essendon. I don't see him doing this week in, week out, but it's nice to have the 147 in our team, and he looks to be becoming a player that's kind of going to not be so much of a risk anymore because, as you can see, it looks like 12% are trading him in, so it's going to take him up to 17%. So it's kind of good in a way. In other ways, are bad, but not everyone's going to have him. So bad. Now, what happened was with Ashcroft kind of playing a bit average last week, this was the second mistake I made. I put him on, I saw Brisbane going to Melbourne. And, with the way he played in the first week, I thought, well, maybe, he is a bit capped because he's playing against Neil. He's playing with Neil. He's playing with Dunkley. Thought maybe his disposal, being able to get disposals, a bit capped by those two. And, Melbourne looked like the team to beat coming into this week. But Brisbane's dispatched them, and it would have been more if it wasn't a power outage, to be honest. But, Ashcroft just showed why he was such a highly touted number one pick. So made the mistake. I did put an emergency on him because I thought this could be something he did. And I did bring in Bytel because I thought Bytel might only miss a week. Lock in that emergency. But I was able to see about 10 minutes before the game that Nat Fife was laid out. So I quickly made the switch back, put Fife up here and got that emergency score. Now I was choosing out of Hash and Wangani Malira, who I was going to trade out. I think I traded out Wangani Malira, obviously brought him back in. And I was like, well, I'll put him on the bench. Now he obviously outscored Mackenzie, which isn't great. Looks like Mackenzie's role has kind of been changed a bit with a few more players coming back like Connor Nash. So I'm thinking now it's probably a good thing that we still have Wangani Malira because we're probably going to start him on field and we'll start Ashcroft on field. I kind of like this a little bit better because there are quite a few plays here that have a little bit of a higher ownership. So we're kind of not having to, I guess, go against so many players as well. All right, so our next pick, our next line was the worst line of, or let's talk about, our midfield bench. And Warple did Warple things. Sorry. Another good game from him. He looks to be entrenched in that midfield and he won't be going anywhere. Naish Wangani now not the best again. They could have Essendon this week. Hopefully a bit more of a free-flowing game. And hopefully that can mean a bigger score. So we'll keep him another week. Ashcroft obviously was on the bench. We've already talked about him. And then Fife. So Fife, I think, is going to leave the team this week. Apart from the fact he got 26 in his first week, we found out that he's dealing with plantar fasciitis, which is, I believe, an injury that affects where the Achilles connects to the heel, maybe, or the heel, at the bottom of the foot, I think. And I know a bit about this injury due to a bit of NBA fantasy, and because one of the players, Wendell Carter Jr., was dealing with this same injury this year. And from what I'd heard, is it's kind of an injury that can be dealt with two ways. So a lot of players will actually try and fully tear the injury because the healing process is a lot quicker if you do it that way through surgery. Or some players will just try and play through it, and it can be have quite a big effect on how they play. And it looks like Fremantle have been opting to play Fife through the injury rather than maybe do surgery and then have him actually recovered fully from it. Which could bode pretty badly for him, and it could actually explain maybe why they've been hesitant to put him in the midfield at all. If he's dealing with the foot injury, maybe he can't even really get running for long, like sustained periods, or he doesn't have that burst. And maybe that's why they've been keeping him up forward. It might not just be because of this, positional change. It's also because of the plantar fasciitis. So I think it's just best to trade him. I think there's an option we're going to discuss, and one maybe we should have had in from the start that will go into the forward line. But we'll do that when we get to the trades. And Mackenzie and Baker, obviously Mackenzie, we just talked about this, was affected by Nash, among others, losing some CBAs. And Baker, it's hard to tell. Obviously better than the previous week, but whether he keeps his spot will be interesting, especially with the Dogs losing. I hope he keeps his spot. I think he's a young player who just needs a few more games in him. Hopefully the Dogs can sort out whatever's going on and maybe get McRae back in the midfield. Because, when Bulldogs was successful previous years, it was when McRae was playing a lot in the midfield, being one of the best ball users in the AFL, probably. But, we'll let them sort that out. The ruck line, worst positional choice in the team. We found out that Pitnet was coming in late. My decision not to go with him was maybe the issue that we could potentially have him for 1 week and then him go out the next because he was a late in. And I didn't really want to risk that. It's just going to mean another pick. But Radaglia really didn't score that well. Scoring only a 31, which isn't great. And, if we'd known that Samson Ryan was probably going to come in, Samson Ryan was going to kick 3 goals and play so well, we might have put him in. Um, I mean, it's still an opportunity to pick Samson Ryan, but at the moment, I think we're just gonna stick with Radaglia one more round, and then next week we'll bring in another ruck, probably trading out of our forward line to get it, and switching Radaglia there. But that's still going to be kind of a hard one to do. Maybe not as hard, not as hard as we think. I think, but I'll discuss what I'm thinking there. And Draper's playing quite a bit forward. What? Because I watched the Essendon Gold Coast game quite closely. The problem is he can get on the end of the ball quite a bit, but he's a horrible kick for goal, which is just something that's normal with rucks. But he just needs to work on a bit of forward craft. And if he did, I think that this 60 could have probably been an 80 and 90, because he had 2 or 3 shots at goal that he missed. And when you kick a goal, you get a bit of confidence up, and I think that goes a long way for Draper. But obviously 60's not great, and the ruck's going to probably be another struggle for us this week. Essendon have St Kilda, which means Draper's going up against Marshall, along with Phillips, so that will be interesting. But otherwise, St Kilda don't have much ruck stock, so maybe that's a good thing. And Radaglia is going to be up against Wits. Oh no, he's not rucking. He's back. It actually might not be too bad for Radaglia. He might be able to get on the end of some scuffed kicks, because Gold Coast have what? No, Max. It's not Max, is it? It's the other one. Max King, Jake King, Ben King. Sorry, Ben King. But I think who's the other key backs they got? I mean, a DeConing could probably play on him. Maybe, I don't know. I'd probably nearly give DeConing a run on Ben King. Given the not the chance, but like the responsibility to go on that big forward, maybe. I'm pretty sure DeConing's around the 190 mark, isn't he? So could be something they do, but I highly doubt it. I can't remember who the main defender is for Geelong. I really don't watch much of them. Maybe Stewart's playing, but he's out at the moment, so kind of a little bit irrelevant Supercoach wise. Moment anyway. So going to the forward line, Fogarty. So Fogarty injured himself, and it looks like he could miss this week. So he's probably one that's also going to be up on the chopping block, which isn't great because we've probably got 2 forwards now we're going to have to get rid of. I'm hoping he can pull through, but his scores haven't been great either. So maybe that's something we're just going to look to move on. He did actually look a lot better this week. He was getting up to the ball, kicked the first goal of the game. And I think that maybe if the injury wasn't there, this could have been a 90, but those things happen. And if he clunked some marks from the speckies he was trying to take, that would have been great. And if he even got a better look, I think a lot of his shots for goal were 45 out. Him and Tex can start to work out how to maybe decoy a bit more for each other. Get in the defender's way. It might help go a long way for them, but I think the Fog could be looking to miss this week. And by the sounds, he didn't have much movement when he was out there once he got back. So I think the 77 was quite a good effort in the end. Now Jack Zeeble seems to have that role that was 2020-21-esque. So he looks to be maybe a potential keeper in the forward line, which would be brilliant. But we just need the bloke to not get injured. From what I've heard, and I probably should watch more in North Melbourne because one of the players will probably bring in this week, but Zeeble has been really good defensive-wise, and has been doing quite a good job at showing a bit more defensive prowess, I'd say, than previous years, which could mean that he's a bit more confident in his body, which will go a long way to the end of the year. But at the moment, 112.5 average in our forward line. We'll take that every day of the week from a guy under 400k. So we'll just ride it until he gets injured at the moment, and hopefully that isn't too a very long time down the track. Now, Horn Francis. What can I say? Look, Port got smashed. And Collingwood, everyone's calling them the Harlem Globetrotters of the footy, and they did look absolutely unreal. I think, you know, I didn't really believe in them after the first week, but I think now after that, they do look like the team to beat, and they do just look like their team is clicking on all cylinders. And the guys they brought in, like Mitchell, McStay, Brampton, um, Bobby Hill, are all helping to maybe fill some gaps that weren't necessarily filled last year. And now they're not just winning by 10 or 20 points, or 5 or 10 points. They're winning by, 70 points against Port Adelaide, who absolutely dominated Brisbane the week before, and who beat Brisbane, who then beat Melbourne this week. It kind of it's starting to show a little bit of where teams are at. Um, Now, JHF, obviously the 45 isn't great. It's good that few people brought him in this week. Whether they'll be rage trading him out was interesting to see, but I think that Horn Francis can be a bit better than this, and I think that playing at home in Adelaide is going to be helpful for that. The showdown this week, I think he'll want to impress himself on the game and show love for his club. And I think he could go for a big score this week, but I'll definitely not be VCing him because I think that there's a lot of young Crows boys who are going to try and probably put themselves, show a bit of physicality as well. With Port being, the top side in South Australia at the moment. And I think that it could be a very interesting game, but I think that Port are going to be too good. But never say never in a showdown, and hopefully the Crows can pull through and get a win. Now, Tanner Bruin's one of the more frustrating players in this team. I think he could average 100 easily if Chris Scott would just let him play in the midfield. And I think, this is probably one of the good things about this team. We can kind of wait on it, but I think a lot of teams are training him out, and Geelong kept losing, or keep losing with the current setup. And you'd think that Chris is going to have to change something up. And if it's Tanner Bruin going into the midfield, that would be great. Obviously, there's the other side of the coin where he gets dropped. I'm not saying, that is kind of a possibility because he did look very average. But hopefully, Chris instead goes, let's put him in the midfield. Let's see what he can do for us, and let's see if it injects a bit of the youth that we need, because I think Danger and a few others are getting a little bit old now. And I think that maybe it is time they start blooding some of these guys through the midfield. They've got Max Holmes in there, but I think Tanner Bruin be getting a run through there because they need to see what they've got. They did play Bose off the back flank, and I think maybe we could put him in. He did look good. He got a lot of kickouts. So hopefully we do see them put a bit of trust in Bruin and give him a run. And then we've got Tom Power and Flanders. So Power actually looked really, really good. He looked like he was on for a huge score. In the first, first quarter, he was on 33, I think. And then it just really slowed down. Whether that was because the game style changed, it looked like it was wet, but I saw it wasn't. I don't know. It just looked very scrappy, and maybe that wasn't as good for Power because he does play off that forward flank. Maybe the ball wasn't kind of getting to him as cleanly. I think he's a great player. He's just not really going to get midfield time with LDU and others there. Now, Simpkin is out, I believe, which could mean that he's going to get some more CBAs this week. I think he's out with suspension. I think he is going to get some more CBAs, whether they're shared amongst Phillips and others. But it could be very good for Power scoring. And I've got him in my classic team, and I'm kind of being forced to trade him. But I think that if Hopper's out, I could potentially maybe move Hopper on instead and keep Power, but still a hard one. Hopper's overall potential is just too good. So it may mean that Power's kept, but I think he'll be fine for this team. And yeah, Flanders, I think he's just one of those ones who just, he's in the midfield, he'd do well, but he's playing off a forward flank and there's not much he can do about it. And it's just one of those sad ones where he's probably going to get the 320. And maybe next year he'll be one of those main guys in the team, but it's going to be hard for him to break into a midfielder. Took, Rowell, and Anderson. And But, you know, and you never know. David Swallow they could move him out of the midfield at some point, and that could be where Flanders gets in there. But, you know, they've got guys like Hollands as well, who you'd think be looking for midfield time, unless he's playing on a wing already. So, but we'll see what happens. And then Fergus Green and Davey. I heard Green actually kicked 0-4, so this could be a lot bigger score. Hawthorn got flogged by Sydney. Can't really read much into it. You'd assume his job security is still pretty good, though. And Davey, he's in a winning team, so I can't see him going out. But he did kick a goal. He is a small forward, so there's not much more you can really ask. Hopefully, he can get some spike scores and we can just spike this price up over the next few weeks and maybe get him out early, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so looking at our trade for this year. Now, this is probably initial thoughts. I'll probably do another video later on in the week where I kind of maybe put in the final choices, but this is what I'm thinking now. So if we go, but let's get that. I'm going to go so this is the last week where we can't trade in a premium. Obviously, next week we can go one by one. Now, if you saw my video, the last video I put out, I did go through these guys who are at the top for the 400k players and kind of say why they aren't who you should be picking. And all of them scored pretty abysmally. And it really shows why you shouldn't jump on the first week scores. So like Horn Francis, 45, Dylan Stevens, 67, Willie Rioli, 41. You know, there was a lot of bad scores there. So anyway, looking at this though, so what I'm thinking is we're going to put Flanders up here onto the bench and we're going to bring in young Sheasel, who probably should have been in the team from the start. But you know what? For me, especially in my classic team, it was kind of a risk I was my classic team. It was kind of a risk I was willing to take that maybe, you know, Sheasel's score was pumped up a bit by West Coast. Now, playing West Coast now, West Coast have actually shown they're not as bad as we think, beating GWS. And, you know, North have Hawthorn this week, which should just be a gold mine for Sheasel as well, unless they try and tag him. Yeah, they're going to tag the bloke playing in the back line, but you know what? He looks really good there, and I think we just got to lock it now. And you know what? Even if he doesn't score this way, he's in 69% of teams down here. So I don't think we can be too worried either way. And he should make some good money. He's got probably one of the best job securities out of all the rookies, other than maybe. No, even Ashcroft's probably not got as good as him. You know, Ashcroft has a few bad games. He's probably out. She's probably staying in. So we're happy with that one. Now, Ben Long is another one I wouldn't mind getting rid of. So now what you can see is we're kind of bringing a bit of money in, getting these rookies right. And interestingly, now Bose I might bring in next week and Crozier. See, I would have loved. So I was very big on, well, not big on, but I really liked Crozier's game playing in the practice match. From what I'd seen, he looked like he was taking a lot of kickouts in that first practice match, but in Bevo's classic fashion, I don't know whether Crozier may have been a little bit injured, but he didn't get a first week game, and then he comes out and puts a 96 up, which comes up back up a lot of kickouts. So Crozier could come into this team next week. Bose could come into this team next week, but we're going to let them all have another game and kind of then pick off from there. Now, Crozier has quite a hard matchup with the Lions. Bose a better matchup in his revenge game. Kind of makes me want to pick him. But at the moment, instead, we're going to take Connor McKenna. So that for Ben Long seems like a good decision. Now, what could end up happening is I could even possibly go Hinge out to maybe a Bose or a Crozier. That could be a potential next week. I think that Clark's getting enough of the ball that at some point he's going to get 100 score. Wittering could also go out, but we'll give him another week as well because I think he should go up. Yeah. He's only going to get a 33 to at least increase. You know, if he doesn't go that, then we can kind of make a decision from there. But against GWS is quite a good matchup, and I think that should have a good chance. GWS is quite a small forward line. And hopefully he can kind of dominate a little bit and get some cutoff marks and do what we need him to do. Um, and then lastly, so I'm really liking. I mean, not liking. Well, I am liking it. The midfield looks good. It's solid. Had some good scores. I think Ash is probably the only one that may go take a backward step here. I can see Malira going actually forwards. So, but we'll leave that as is for now. Now, I'd love to do something with the rock. And there is the potential that we do use a boost and we bring in Samson Rock. Mason Cox had actually quite a good game. Wasn't really sure about it, but the way he's playing, he's been really good. He has Richmond this week as well, which is interesting, but I don't really want to go on that 335 player. I think that if I do, I'll probably bring in Samson Ryan. We lose cash on it, but he did look quite good, and he should get in hopefully another 2 games at least. But then again, could be something we decide on next week. But then otherwise, the only other trade I'd really need to look at maybe is Fogarty. So we're gonna have probably Fogarty or Hopper. Thing is, if Hopper misses, I'll probably bring back in Long. Who else did I trade out? 5. So I'll probably bring back in Long. At least the injury cloud isn't an issue, and playing off the back line is probably a bit better than playing as a key forward. And then Hopper will go out as well, and we can probably put Jimby there and still bring in McKenna. Cheese was definitely in. Looking at the forward line, there really isn't anyone I think around that 400k mark that you're. Chandler. I mean, Chandler potentially. Did actually play really well. Marty at 122. I'm interested to see how he goes against Melbourne this week. Could be an interesting cash grab, but a key forward's a key forward. Now, Machida Owens as well played a very nice game, but I think what I've heard a lot of St Kilda supporters say is that he does look prime for a tagging role at some point, which can mean lower scoring. We might leave that one for now. We put Flanders back here, which I don't really want to score on field. Challange got injured, so we don't really want to touch that. Max Holmes is actually quite interesting. 360k is a lot to pay. I'd rather have started him. Lockie Shoal did look quite good and was getting a lot of the ball backline for pros. But we've got another week to see how he goes as well. Ollie Hollands would be an interesting midfielder to bring on. Now, what I don't like is the fact I'd have to play Flanders on the field. So kind of looking at this, maybe I would go for the down the Chandler route. I don't really know who else people are kind of playing up here. Have a look percentage wise. Philippou, yeah, I'd say be on the bench for most teams. Toby McLean, I can't believe it's actually kind of a little bit crazy. Personally, that's how I feel about it. Hey Chandler could be the one. Josh Bruce actually had quite a good game, but whether he can do that again is interesting to see. I mean, St Kilda did show that they would give defenders quite big scoring, so not sure you can really trust Bruce's 74 here. So yeah, I think if I'm gonna make another trade, it's probably gonna be for Chandler. But we'll leave that for now. That will leave us with 2.2 mil. 2.2 mil, 32 trades, We go 1 up, 2 up, 3 up, 4 up, 5 up, 6 up. So 300k each, 1.8. And it's kind of up, down from there, but hopefully we won't have to trade Zeeble. Setterfield could actually potentially stay in the team quite a while, and same with Walker. And actually, Hopper, if we have to hold those guys, we will. Well, I kind of don't want to trade Hopper. I might just cover him with an emergency here. I think that the Ryan's kind of on the Fogarty anyway, kind of going out of the team. Handler's ownership like. Where is he? All right, I'm going to type it in. Shan. Only up to 10%, but not many people will be playing him on field. That's probably the problem. If we click in and see, that's about two and three starting him, which is actually quite good. So maybe he is who we bring on, but for now we'll leave it and wait and see what we hear. And other than that, I think that's all for the round 2 review. Obviously, there's a little bit to think about. I'm not really sure who I'm going to VCC at the moment. There are obviously a lot of injuries occurring in those big players again. So Gorn got out on 0. A few others had some injury niggles here or there. Now, Setterfield apparently had an injury niggle. Hopper had an injury niggle. So these guys we might have to switch on and off. But that's going to be problems that everyone's dealing with, hopefully. I don't think anyone's going to trade Setterfield out after last week. If anything, everyone's going to either wait on him or get him in. I hope he misses a week because then I can get him into my team, which would be nice. But for now, we're quite happy with this. We got a decent captain last week, which helped. Could have been better, but we went up in the ranks, and that's what matters. And we'll be at 100k soon, and 50k after that. Now for the 3-2-1, I think with the 3, we're going to give it to Will Setterfield. Another good week. I think he got the 1. Did he get the 1 or 2 last week? I think he got the 2 because I think we just kind of saw it coming from Zeeble a little bit more. Maybe not so much Setterfield. The 2, I feel like I'm being harsh, but on Zeeble, but I'm going to give the 2 to Hopper. I think that Hopper coming back out on the injury was actually quite big for him and for our captaincy. So we'll give him the 2. And the 1 is kind of a trade-off between Hopper and Ashcroft and Zeeble. I'm going to give it to Zeeble because he could arguably be our number 2 vote this week. So, a 3-2-1, Setterfield, Hopper, and Zeeble. Hopefully, you know what? If the midfield can output like this again, that's great. But hopefully we can get, a little bit more from our rucks. Be nice, right? You just get a 60. That'd be great. Draper, an 80. Great. Otherwise, team did well. Hopefully, Horn Francis can pick back up. Bruin can get some midfield time, and we can, keep going and climb up a few more ranks next week. Anyway, thanks for watching. Obviously, if you've enjoyed this, please like, please subscribe. Let's get a little bit of following on this. Come on, it's something different. I know it's not a winning team. Yes, we know it's not a winning team, but it's something fun. It's something different. You have a look at a lot of these other teams. It's just everyone picking the same players. You look at Dacos. He was 50% owned before the round even started last week. Now, everyone at the start of the season was saying that he was being tagged too much, but I think he got like 20 or 30% after the first round. And now everyone's going on LDU. It'd be interesting to see, but hopefully we can keep climbing, get into that top 100k, make some inroads closer to the 50. Maybe not. Maybe I'm dreaming, but anyway, it'll be fun to watch. So give us a subscribe, follow on the journey, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.